Hello YouTube, my name is Chair, and we are going to be looking at all of the brand new tracks for Wave 5 of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and reacting to them, sharing some of my thoughts about them. I'm really excited because I know pretty much all these tracks from playing Tour so much. I am really excited to see some of the changes that they've made, both musically as well as with the tracks. And we also have 3 new characters. I will be playing with my standby Luigi, bombs only, just so that I can make sure that I'm devoting my time to the tracks and not worried about any of the other bots. I probably could just do time trials, but I am really excited. So we're going to be starting out with Athens Dash. Now, this is a track that very recently got added into Mario Kart Tour, maybe less than a month ago. Athens Dash is a really fun track, but it is slightly discombobulated for the most part. The music is pretty strong, and I knew that they were going to create something because every single wave that we've gotten so far includes a world track. From the very first one being Paris, Tokyo, New York, Sydney, London, Berlin. We got Amsterdam, Bangkok, and Singapore in the same wave, which was odd to me. And the only ones that were remaining was LA and Vancouver. So I assumed that those would be split up into 2 different courses, but no, we got them in the exact same wave. So Athens came out for the Feather Cup, and for the Cherry Cup we got LA as well as Vancouver. So what I'm assuming is for the Acorn Cup, we will very likely get Rome Avanti, which was a track that just got added into Tour. And I'm assuming that for the Spiny Cup, there will be one more World Tour that might be added. I've got a couple ideas of what I think would be fun, but I'm excited to see what Tour drops out. So let's start with the Feather Cup and work our way through. So we've got Athens Dash, again, kind of a discombobulated track for the most part. I feel like the multiple different versions of it all could be combined in a really unique way. From what I've seen already so far, it seems like it's just as discombobulated here. It feels disjointed, and definitely not, in my opinion, the strongest world tour that we have until you get to the final lap. That's where it really picks up. So you've got all this really intricate architecture that's very nice. The music, sort of Olympus Coliseum from Kingdom Hearts, which is nice. This initial first hairpin turn is odd. And it's not my most favorite thing, but I do like that there are a lot of trick opportunities here. If you utilize this fountain space correctly, you can get a lot of really great distance early on. And there are more hairpin turns as we sweep through this first one towards a tunnel bridge up ahead that you really only interact with minusculely. I do really thoroughly enjoy that they've done a lot more of the half pipes that you can swoop up. I hate that turn right there. That turn is really deceiving, and that's a problem that I think a lot of these tracks do have in this particular tour. We'll see it more in Vancouver, where there are these sort of odd turns. We're back through a different tunnel into a very odd twist and turn right here, followed by more odd turns. I do enjoy these stairs, and I wish that we could have seen those utilized a bit better in lap 2. They're really strong in lap 3 in my opinion, and this is where the course really succeeds. You get this beautiful view of the city, some really fantastic opportunities for drifting, another half pipe, which I love, and coming up ahead, I like this spinning item area. It's very reminiscent of like the Boo tracks. And up here we get some boulders, which I think I like. I wish that they felt a little more ominous. They seem pretty easy to avoid. This is a fun spot because you can really get some great distance by not having to go around. But much like New York, the third lap feels short, and it feels like one of the better ones. So I kind of wish that it started out with this particular track as lap 1, and then maybe ended with lap 1 as 3. For my personal take. And now we get to move on to the next track, which I'm so excited about, which is Daisy Cruiser. Daisy Cruiser is one of those tracks that is so classic and has so much positive emotion in it. I know a lot of people have been particularly excited about Daisy Cruiser. And this is why I play with Joy-Cons, because this little boy likes to jump into shots all the time. I love that they kept almost everything about the original track from what I've seen. I'm very familiar with this because of Tour. Initially, you have 2 different routes that you can take to start out your journey. You can either go left or right as you traverse the cruiser. I noticed when I was doing my initial playthrough is that the right track, especially in lap 2, is a little bit difficult to traverse carefully because of the pool. In here, I felt like in the original version of Daisy Cruiser, it sort of felt like there were more stakes to avoid the tables and chairs. And I don't feel like it's that difficult to avoid them, so I wish that they either moved faster or that there were maybe more perils. So I'm going to take the left track this time and swoop around this way, which I think is the more preferred way of taking this. I think going to the right, there doesn't seem to feel any incentive. I wish that there was maybe a boost there. Do these have, okay, I thought maybe there would be collision with those. Either you'd spin off of them or maybe get injured, but you don't. So coming down here, this is actually one of the nicer areas. I do really like that there's some boost, so it gives you a slight incentive to go down, plus the double item box, which is nice. And this turn right here is a little bit, in my opinion, difficult. Coming out from the water, I think it's easier when you're coming up from the top, so we'll do that this time around. Some nice trick opportunities with some double trick options right there. And I also believe the Goombas do not have collision on them. So we're gonna not do the water this time. Get a couple good little moments right from there. We're about to pass Inkling Girl. She's gonna bomb me, I can already tell. Tried to bomb her before I could. Oh wait, yes, it was Inkling Girl. Inkling Boy is in second. Okay, this next is already in tour right now. It's a part of the nighttime tour, which I think by the time that this video uploads, the pipe tour will be starting. So this is no longer relevant, but I have been practicing a lot on this track the last couple of weeks because it's been in. So what I think the positive of this is, unlike some of the other street courses where there are cars in the way, you've got a lot of opportunities to get hurt, I think what this one has is a nice aesthetic and a really nice musical cue. That detail of the ring around the moon literally took my breath away when I first saw it. Now there are a couple of little hidden areas that you can take here, and I'll show those in a second. You got some good collision off the wall there, which is nice. And again, I think what makes this track unique in comparison to some of the other street courses is the fact that it does have really nice visuals to it. You do have to worry about the bombs, so make sure not to hit those. I feel like the cues of where you're supposed to go are really nice. It's giving a little Big Blue with being able to have all of these speed boosts. Can really get a lot off of those. The cars, I feel like, are very specific. You can sometimes get a good trick off of them, and then sometimes you can't. Now this is where a shortcut exists. I wouldn't necessarily call it a shortcut, it's more just an alternate route. It's nice. It's a little bit out of the way, so I'm not sure how beneficial it would be for most people to go up there, unless you've already got pretty good distance and you just want to get a little extra boost going straight from there. And I also don't feel like there's really any negatives to take the left side. It's a slightly longer route, but because you do get those boosts, it helps enough. And so I think you could get advantage from both. Up here, I would say, is kind of a shortcut. It sort of depends on, I think, how much distance you have, what items you have. I just really want to take her out. I'm not feeling her energy, and I'm not vibing with her. She gives me musty. There have been a couple times where the cars that have the board on them, I've noticed a couple times they'll be in really weird spots. There was one particular place when I was testing it out earlier where it literally wanted to launch me off the map, so be careful with those and keep an eye on those. Overall, solid course. I think it's better than Toad's Turnpike, which is low-key kind of garbage. It was kind of garbage as a track, in my opinion. And now we move on to the final course in the Feather Cup. And I initially had zero feelings, for lack of a better pun. I did not give a crap about this bathroom map. But the more that I've played it, the more that I've looked at it, I think I gave it an unfair shot at the beginning. In my personal headcanon, I think Squeaky is attached to the Ribbon Road bedroom, which I think is cool. I like all the different pieces in here. There's so many visuals to look at. And I also found one alt routes. I'm sure there's probably more that I'll discover as I play it more. But I'll show you that in lap 2. It's difficult to get here. I will say, what is nice about this is there are a lot of places to get tricks off of. You can kick that route to the left and do the sponges, and there is a singular trick that I found. And I want to show you something in lap 2 that I noticed about this pipe. I love it down here. I think the music's beautiful. The double item box in that ring absolutely does not seem worth it. I cannot foresee a situation that would make that a viable route. More half pipes. I love that they included those, and they give you enough speed to go over the bubbles. The bubbles have a little bit of friction on them, and so it's kind of difficult to pass through those without a mushroom. Alternatively, I also feel like the music is sort of giving Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. A couple parts of the musical cues are serving that for me. So I'm going to take these sponges. Oh, well, maybe I won't this time. Next time I will. So here, there is nothing beyond this, which if the toothbrushes didn't already imply that, you cannot take any alt route to get through this pipe area. I do wish that there was an alt route that didn't require you to come down here. I feel like a lot of courses that do have routes similar to this, if it doesn't fully just wall you off from being able to do that, it normally would have some type of alt route, and I wish that there was something like that. So yeah, if you time it right, you can get some good distance off of those. And now I want to show one of the alt routes in this track, which is going up this way. This spot is really cute. I like the sereneness of it, and you can get, if you do it right, get a little trick right off that. I still have not been able to reach the receipt line that's up there. I think that might be for a lighter weight class than Luigi and what I currently am running on him. To be honest, the sponge is, I don't know how worth it is. Especially for doing slightly more competitive runs of this. Let's see if I can nail this half pipe correctly this time. There we go. And that helps you get across those bubbles. Is it really niche? Yes. Is it still fun to do? Yes. So let's try to get on this receipt one more time. Never mind, that's the end of it. Oh, and there's another route back here too I did not see. Okay, so there might be even more alternative routes along this track that are yet to be discovered. But yeah, with the drain pipe, I think my biggest complaint is I wish that there were maybe a little more barriers because I feel like for some players who might think that there might be another route, or some players that might get bonked off by a heavyweight class, they might be forced past those toothbrushes and then get a really massive penalty for going past them, because it brings you so far back. And I could see that being a problem for newer players, people that are experiencing it for the first time. And now we move into LA Labs. I was very, very skeptical of this track going into Mario Kart 8. Los Angeles Laps is one of those tracks that feels disjointed in the same way that Athens does. And there are, I think, 6 different versions that exist in Tour. There are a lot. But I love where they started it on the pier here. This one sort of makes the most sense. So it takes you along this journey of the beach. And they also did a great job with the music. I love this sort of like more laid back version that they took. So you go underneath the pier, and this is, I think, the only time that you interact at the beach in this this track. So we got some cute little scenic areas, very reminiscent of like Singapore, Bangkok, the way that they've set this up. And then we move into the actual city. This, I think, is one of the more iconic parts of the track, going through the stadium. And I wish that there was slightly more interaction with it, but I imagine that they didn't want it to get too muddled with Vancouver, because Vancouver has a stadium that you go through as well. You can go through here, and in Tour, that's normally blocked off by some piranha plant barricades. I kind of wish that they had kept that, because that would have been nice to see. Get a little sightseeing through the city. Another fun little view right there. And now we move into the very last lap, which takes you through the oil fields. I personally love this spot. In Tour, there's an entire course that's dedicated to pretty much exploring the oil fields. So this could have been slightly bigger. I think they definitely could have done more with it. But I'm the type of person that thinks we should have 4 laps and be longer by like a mile. So we're about to pass Inkling Girl again, and we end up on the same bridge that we started on. So a nice little turn back right to where you were initially. In my opinion, this is the strongest one. This is the strongest course of the entire Wave 5. I think that the bathroom course is very close, but LA, in my opinion, is number 1. I think they did a really great job with it, and I love the way that the course doesn't feel disjointed at all. It doesn't feel like it's leading you in weird directions. And now we move into, unfortunately, what I think is one of the weakest in this entire wave. I want to preface, asterisk, I was very excited for Sunset Wilds. And if they make a change to the course, and if they go through and just add one little detail, I think this course will go from humdrum to really fabulous. So Sunset Wilds has a really nice feature that no other course has, which is that the landscape changes in the final lap. So as you're driving through, the sun is setting, and in the final lap, the sun goes down and you are in nighttime. There's a beautiful desert starry sky. You get this musical cue change that sort of feels like you're out on the prairie at nighttime, and it's really beautiful. But for whatever reason, they decided to not include that feature. And for a track that is frankly very simplistic and doesn't have a ton of interest course-wise, there's not really a lot of alt routes, there's not a lot of shortcuts, there's not really any even disincentivization to drive through the mud. It's sort of just a track that exists. I think it's the same way that there are a couple of these waves that came in that could have been stronger, could have had some visual interest and just didn't. And I think if they were to buff this track and add the nighttime effect, it'll take it from like a 5 to a 10. So here's where it normally would change. Here's where everything would get affected. I would highly recommend looking up some videos about how this course changes because it's beautiful. It's very stunning. So yeah, overall, disappointing, but I think it will get buffed. There were a lot of complaints about Coconut Mall and the cars that weren't spinning out, and Nintendo went through and they fixed that and they added the spinning car effect. And so I think it is very likely, if enough people are asking for this, as I think people are, I think we'll see this course go through a change of life, get a different third lap, and I think it'll make it a little more spectacular. And now, I think the next one is probably the second weakest, which is Koopa Cape. Of all the Koopa tracks that they could have chosen that were sort of like nautical beach themed, I was very surprised that they chose Koopa Cape. Both surprised and not surprised because it gets featured in Tour a lot. This is sort of a staple course that they are always adding in, and the reason why I reference Tour a lot and I talk about the various waves that have dropped is because these assets already exist, right? These are things that Nintendo owns. They don't have to pay anybody to go and fix or re-update. All they gotta do is just change a couple of the graphics, make them compatible with the Switch and with the waves, and they're good to go. And all of the courses that they've made, like Sky High Sundae, the Bathroom Course, Yoshi Island, those were all with the express intent of bringing them to Tour as they showed up not that long later. So this course in particular, I was unsurprised that they brought it in because it is such a used course, right? But at the same time, there are a few other Koopa beach-themed courses that I think would have been more interesting to see. Because again, much like Sunset Wilds, it's a pretty straightforward course. There's not really a ton of interest to it. It would have been nice if perhaps maybe the course changed slightly, if maybe there were some different routes that you could take. I do love that they're leaning into the half-pipe thing, and I love nothing more than the fact that we keep seeing that. I like these shell areas. It sort of feels like, you know, you can maybe take the course slightly different than some of your competitors to avoid maybe a lot of red shells, green shells, bananas, things like that. But I'm competitively just not sure how useful they are without mushrooms. So overall, it's a fine course. It's a fine course. Over here would be something nice too if there was maybe like an item or something that was worth it to get. Maybe like a ramp that you could trick off of to get a little extra distance. This could be a good shortcut if you utilize it right, if you've got the right items. Even through here, you could get a lot of really good distance if you play this correctly. The pipe 2, I feel like this could have all been half pipes, rather than just this one little tiny bit of it. Like, this could have easily been a half pipe right there, just to add some more visual interest, a little more game interest. And that's the course. Straightforward, easy. Can't imagine many people are going to be picking it. If you do stand this, I apologize for roasting your course. It's there. It exists. And that's sort of how I feel about, I think, the whole of this, minus LA. Because now we move into what I was very excited for, which was Vancouver Velocity. And I feel like it got cucked really badly. Vancouver Velocity is one of my absolute favorite tracks in Tour. It's got one of my favorite musical themes right next to Sydney. Overall, aesthetically beautiful. I was surprised that it didn't land in the final chapter, in the final wave, just because it is snowy, it's wintry, and so I thought maybe it might get released sometime around October, November to sort of celebrate the fact that it was wintertime. There are a lot of really odd choices that they made, which you'll see specifically at the stadium, that I feel like were not good choices. Here is one of my absolute favorite spots on the map. I love this bridge. I think it could have been longer. As I've said many times before, I just think this bridge is probably one of the most visually interesting things of most of the waves that have come through. Maybe if there was a little more danger that the bridge broke, maybe you had to like avoid certain pitfalls, that could be fun. There's a shortcut right there that's best used if you have a mushroom. But up here is where I think it starts to get just a little wonky. This very tight turn here is a little awkward, in my opinion. We take another bridge, which is beautiful. Love this bridge, into another odd segment. The fact that there's no jump there that allows you to glide over the water is odd to me. I don't know why they didn't include something like that, because it's such an empty space with nothing to do. You come to the arena, and it looks like you're supposed to go straight forward, but you see this very tight, odd turn that brings you to the left, and when you're playing it and you're experiencing it, it feels different than watching it. Right there, that little course turn feels very much like the Yoshi map, where there's all these tight and short turns that you can't really get a good boost off of, so you might as well just drive straight. Here's nice. I do like this little shopping center area, but then we have another very tight turn which requires you to brake, and this time it brings you forward rather than drop you off to the left. Brings you into a really nice turn here that you can get a great boost off of, and then it lets you interact with lap 2, which is cool, but also provides a lot of danger. So I think lap 3 is probably the most interesting to me, because there is the opportunity to really get your race ruined by some of the other bots, if you have bots in your lobby. I think that it would be nice if this got just a slight buff to make some of the turns a little bit less awkward, maybe repath lap 2 and 3, especially when it comes to handling the stadium, because I feel like those parts are a little awkward. Overall, I think the first part of the wave, excellent, stunning, beautiful. Second half, definitely could use some work. I think if they're able to sort of repath Vancouver, and if they're able to sort of reformat the way that Sunset works as far as the optics, I think those will be really strong courses. We'll see if those end up getting applied at all. But what were your thoughts on Wave 5? Overall, I think it's pretty strong. I don't think it's like the worst of the waves. I think we definitely have a very strong contender for the worst wave of all of them, and it's not this. It is definitely on like a rank, it's a little bit lower, but strong. What were your thoughts, feelings, nouns? And I am live on Twitch all the time. If you ever want to come and pop over, chat about the courses. We race usually on Saturdays, and we play a little competitive, so if you like sweaty gaming, come over on Saturdays on twitch.tv/Jeremy and find me there. But let me know what your thoughts are. Goodbye!